Today's MMA Tea Company Fighter Spotlight is with Lateesha Mohl. Lateesha is coming off of a Flex Fight Series dominant performance and a win and a gold chain to boot, coming off of that fight. And, first MMA win in a while. So, Lateesha, I see your nose is a little busted up. Other than that, how do you feel?
I feel really good. Yeah, I got a nice little cut on my nose in the first round. Those gloves are sharp, so they cut pretty easily. But the nose is just a little sore. Other than that, I feel perfectly fine, just like it was, like a sparring session.
And I want to go back a little bit in your MMA career and just in your combat sports career in general. I saw a post that you made after this fight. You dropped seven straight MMA fights before this one. You had broken your collarbone, real nasty break in your last MMA fight. I know that you did come out, you had some kickboxing fights, you did some jujitsu tournaments, but this was your first time back into the MMA cage in a while, and you got the win. Like I said, after the first or last seven losses. So, how does that feel? Just overcoming that kind of adversity, one thing after the other, and then COVID, and then another thing. It just kept piling on.
Right. Yeah. And that's why, like, part of the reason this big was or this win was so big to me and like so important to me. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are probably like annoyed or probably like, oh my God, it's just an amateur, title fight. Like it's not that big of a deal. And I get where they're coming from, but at the same time, I don't think people really understand, my full story in the past 5 years from when I first started up until this point in MMA. It was something where if most people were in my position, they would have quit 4 fights ago. They wouldn't have kept fighting in MMA. They would have listened to everyone around them telling them to quit, and they would have quit. So for me, it really was like a huge part of my success, a huge part of me taking the next step forward and really just proving to myself that I can conquer the mental side of this sport finally and actually be successful, and not only be successful, but with a win that I was totally not expecting, especially at that weight class.
And you have been, I think, in the past, a couple of years, and since working with Zach and then working with Christian, kind of just really relying on letting your hands fly, right, and being confident in your hands. And I think that showed when you had her up against the cage, and it looked like you almost smelled blood. Like you hit her with one shot that you were like, oh, she's gonna go down, and then you unleashed a fury of fists on her. Did you sense that in the cage? Could you see that she was wobbly, she was hurt?
Yeah, I knew right away. Like you could tell in her eyes. And I mean, again, all respect to her. She comes from a fantastic school. She has a really good kickboxing record as well. So, she's no joke. But I could just tell in her eyes when I hit her. I think it was with a right hand, and you could just see like she went to a different world. And I was like, all right, I didn't want to rush in because I've done that before. I've gotten, super excited, rushed in, and then I got taken down. So I kept my cool, waited until I saw the opportunity, and then I knew I was like, this is gonna stop. Like I'm gonna finish this, and yeah, I could definitely sense it.
And it's something that I've talked to a couple of fighters about this. It's not something that you typically practice, right? When you in the gym, if you rock someone, you're like, oh, whoa, 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 sorry, like we're going
Right.
too hard in sparring. But it's the complete opposite when you get in the fight. Now, was that something that when you saw that, was it something that came naturally of to go finish, or did you have to tell yourself like, oh shit, I got to finish this fight now because she's hurt?
I think once I saw the look in her eyes, and it is kind of something that I've sort of been working on, especially with boxing, since you wear the big puffy
Mhm.
gloves and headgear, you can kind of go off on someone when you think they're a little hurt. Um, but I think, once I saw that look in her eyes, that switch kind of flipped for me. And really it has been mental for me. It was that mental mindset, that switch that, we are in an actual fight now. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is part of the competition. So just having that mental switch before I even went in the cage, I was telling myself, be aggressive. My point that fight was to be aggressive and to have fun, and I did both of those things. So it wasn't too hard for me to make that switch, honestly.
And you talk about a lot about the mental side of fighting, and you're very open about it on your social media. And you worked with a sports psychologist to kind of just some people say get your mind right, or like just see it from a different angle or whatever that may be. But not a lot of people realize how polarizing the highs and lows of this sport are, right? Like you
Mhm.
said earlier, somebody 4 or 5 fights ago, they might have just hung it up because the lows are so low when you lose over and over again.
Right.
um, for you, what was it that kept you driving forward and kept you wanting to come back and fight MMA?
I honestly, like, I don't know. I'm just like who I am as a person in general. I don't give up easily, especially when I might not be the best at something, but when I truly enjoy it, I guess it's more or less the training aspect of it. I really enjoy the training. And when I do train, I can see how well my skill set is when I'm training. So it was frustrating to me. It didn't make sense. I'm like, I'm doing great in sparring. I'm doing great when I cross train. I'm doing great, you know, in these lifelike real life situations, and it just wasn't transferring into the cage. So I knew there was a problem. I knew there was an issue, and I figured if I keep fighting, I'll eventually find the issue. It took me a little longer than I wanted it to, but we got to a point where I did find the issue. So I think it was just really that drive that I really knew I could do it, and it got to a point where I wanted to prove people wrong, and I did.
And it's a funny feeling, right? Wanting to prove people wrong, because you probably had a bunch of people between, friends, family, probably somebody in the gym, people you don't know, commenting on things on social, like, "Hey, just hang it up. Like, don't,
Yeah.
what's the point of going back to fighting?" So how good did it feel to get this win and be like, basically throw your middle fingers up in the air to all those people?
Yeah, I mean, it felt great, and I really didn't, I didn't really wanna come at anybody, I didn't make any snarky comments, but it's just one of those things. I know they're watching, I know they saw it, and that was enough satisfaction for me, and it was just such a liberating win. It was such a personal win for me.
And a lot of people will take time off, right? They'll
Right.
probably take a week or two off the gym, schedule a fight for 2 3 months down the road, but you're jumping right back into WK Nationals this coming weekend. So did you change up your training at all, or are you just kind of, all right, now let's go fight again next week?
I actually fought 2 weeks ago too. I fought in Ohio. I had a boxing match 2 weeks before this MMA fight. So I had that boxing match first. I just had this MMA fight Friday, and then, like you said, I fight next weekend in Delaware for the Nationals. The camp has pretty much been consistent. We switched it up for the MMA fight. I did a lot of wall drills and things like that. But between the boxing at my boxing gym and the kickboxing with Christian in his class, it's pretty much the same regimen, the same thing that really works for me. We're really just focusing on, each person, combos that they like, counters that they like. So it's really not a big jump. Everything really, the way it was mapped out, really complemented each other.
Yeah, and I saw you're doing a fair bit of swimming now. You how do you like that? How does that feel, aiding into your just strength and conditioning?
Yeah, the swimming is crazy. I always feel like, because when you swim, it is actually more tiring than you think. And it really is like a full body workout. But when you're in there, I only swim for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. We're not there very long. We'll do like sprint work where you just swim as fast as you can to one end. And then we'll actually do oxygen restriction too. So we'll go under the water and swim as far as we can without taking a breath. And you come up really like as late as you can take a breath. And it's weird because it almost feels like it's not working when you're doing it. Because when you run or when you lift or you do a circuit, you're sweating and you're hot. And when you're swimming, you're like, well, I'm not sweating, I'm not hot, I'm a little tired, but that's it. But the payoff of it has been way better than running, almost way better than like circuit training and things like that. I really enjoy it. I'm not gonna stop doing it. I'd actually like to do it a little bit more and get away more from the running.
Yeah, running, it just for me, it destroys my knees. Now my form's probably
Yeah,
shit, so I could probably help that. But
yeah, yeah,
um,
too.
now, when you first started, what was your form like in swimming? Did you have to kind of learn how to swim all over again? Because it's different than just going out and like messing around in the pool with, friends.
Right. I kind of had an idea of how to do the, the strokes and turn your head. There's actually a lady at the pool who was nice enough. She's a swim instructor. She was
Mhm.
nice enough to give us a couple tips, how to turn your head, literally like how to breathe right, like how to breathe out, how to breathe in, how to breathe before you start swimming. So she gave us some tips and tricks. I'm not the best at it. I'm not a professional swimmer, but I've definitely am trying to incorporate some, little tweaks, some little techniques that definitely made me a better swimmer than I was for sure.
It's one of those things where I guess like anything else, where I talk to a lot of fighters and they say, uh, once I realized how much better I could get at it, I
Mhm.
wanted to get better at it, right?
Right. Exactly.
And speaking of getting better, you're getting better and I think all aspects of your game. You got kickboxing next week. When can we expect to see you back in the MMA cage?
I would actually not mind trying to throw. I was planning on making a pro boxing debut in November. I still think we're going to make that happen. So before that, I actually wouldn't mind trying to get another MMA fight, amateur MMA fight
Mhm.
in, maybe mid-October. That way it'll just throw me right into my boxing camp and I'll already be in shape. So like maybe early mid-October. I'm not really sure what's out there. I haven't really been going out of my way to look. I'm just kind of seeing if anything comes in. But if it's, if it's the right fight and it sounds good, I'm willing to hop in there one more time before I go pro.
Awesome. So I guess promoters just hit you up and you'll check it out, and if it works, it works.
Yeah, sometimes I've been getting some messages for like the same date that I already fought.
Mhm.
But I always tell them, keep me in mind, keep me in touch for upcoming stuff. So we'll see if anything comes in.
Sweet. I mean, we're looking forward to it. I think your last fight was a big testament to the work that you've put in, and um, WK should go well for you as well. And then we'll kind of go from there. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Lateesha. Good luck next weekend, and I'll see you in the gym soon.
All right, thanks. See you,
All right.
John.
Yep. Bye.